back to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. I'd like to share with you first off that this show was recorded months ago, way before we even heard the word COVID-19 or coronavirus. And in these last couple of weeks, scheduling appropriate content during this crisis has been challenging, to say the least. It's been a juggle of time-sensitive information that I want to get out to you, like last week with Peter Lang, the designer CPA, and his advice on the stimulus package, all the way to considering the content of a particular show as whether it's appropriate or inappropriate for our times. So just keep in mind, COVID-19 was not on our radar for this conversation. And it occurred to me that that may seem to you when you listen, like, where's the elephant in the room? Okay, right? Because today's conversation is more intimate than most conversations that I've had on the show. As I've traveled the country and have met you in real life, and as I've received dozens of heartfelt emails from you over the years, I have learned that many out there struggle not just being a business owner, but also too with bad childhood programming, self-doubt, illnesses, both mental and physical, and illnesses that might be our own or our family members' illness. So dealing with challenges like these are hard enough, but then add to your plate running a business, interacting with clients and vendors, and then trying to keep yourself or your family members safe and protected. Well, it just can seem like an impossible task. Leah is here today because she wants to talk about her story so that we as a community can bring the conversation out into the open. She wants our community to not feel embarrassed asking for help, and she wants our community to be open and generous in giving help, and she wants to promote an environment of support and care for each other. I applaud Leah for this, and in honor of my friendship with Leah, I was very motivated and interested in trying to navigate this conversation with her. So, Leah M. Perez is the CEO and the principal designer of Leah Mayey Interior Design. Like so many of you from an early age, Leah was creative and had a natural talent for interiors. From her artistic flair in art class to tinkering in the garage with her father, Leah's path was destined for design. Leah has earned an extensive knowledge of fabrics and furniture by working for several boutique interior firms, including a custom furniture workshop and a custom drapery workroom. In 2014, taking a leap of faith, Leah opened her residential interior design firm, and as you will learn today, Leah has had to overcome more than simply understanding marketing, bookkeeping, and pipeline building in order to finally and ultimately be successful. Before you meet Leah, let's shout out to My Doma Studio. Sarah Daniele, the CEO of My Doma Studio, was with me the very first time I met and got to spend time with Leah. Sarah is a CEO with heart, soul, and a love for this industry. As a practicing interior designer, Sarah developed My Doma Studio specifically to organize and run her design projects efficiently and profitably. And I want to just say, if you haven't heard about the latest, greatest thing that My Doma Studio is doing for you, check out mydomastudio.com/19 hours. When you do, you will see an incredible event just when you need it most. This is a free online virtual summit for all of us, gathering all of the speakers and panelists that you were hoping to see and learn from in High Point Market before our world was rocked by COVID-19. Presentations by myself, Nancy Ganzekaufer, Nicole Heimer, Claire Jefford, Eileen Hahn, Melissa Galt, Wendy Wallace-Chuck, Debbie Daly, Darla Powell, Marianne Cherico, John Adcox, Dixie Willard, and Michelle Williams, to name a few, along with panel discussions led by me every day at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Rockstar panelists include Mimi Goldsmith, Sarah Brennan, Cheryl Luckett, Rashida Gray, Kate O'Hara, Dina Holland, Christy Woodson Harvey, Jenny Slingerland, Brittany Simon, Kat French, Alfie Rowan, Sandra Funk, Toby Fairley, Monica Wilcox, and Tracy Connell. It's like unbelievable, right? Now, you may have noticed a common thread here. Nearly every single person that I just named has been on this show. And so you know what that means. That means we have some of the brightest, most successful, the smartest ladies and guys that you can possibly put together in a room. And do you know what else? Every sponsor of my podcast has stepped up to help us bring this event to you. Please remember to patronize and shout out in social media My Doma Studio, Kravit, Article, Kirsch, Jaipur Living, Monogram, Summer Classics, and IDS, Interior Design Society. It takes a village, and I have to say, between you, my amazing listener, my guests, and our sponsors, we have a heck of a village here. Please go to mydomastudio.com/19hours to register for this remarkable free event. It starts April 6, 2020, and it will run through April 9th, 2020. I'll see you there live every single day. Okay, I'm looking forward to introducing you to Leah. Hi, Leah. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business.
Hey, LuAnn. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm happy to have you on the show, Leah. You and I go back a couple of years here. We met for the first time in 2017, I think, at America's Mart, right?
Yes, I think that's correct.
Exactly. And we've since seen each other at High Point. And one of the markets, you came up to me and you asked me a question. Tell everybody the question you asked me.
I was curious because, you have so many episodes. I never went back to look. It's hard to say if you ever had any episodes on fears and insecurities. So that's what I asked you. I'm like, if you could point me in that direction.
Oh, because you wanted to listen to an episode about it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm remembering. Right. And I really didn't, right? I really didn't. No. Not, I mean, there's been tidbits of information and tidbits of conversation, but not a whole show that really spoke to it. And so then we started this little dialogue and you wanted to talk about it. Tell us, why did you want to have a conversation about this, Leah? Why did you press me to do this?
Well, I think it's such an important topic that no one talks about. It's a little taboo. If you have fears, you're considered weak. And I want to change that because it's so important, not just for our interior design world, but just in general, to know that it's okay to have fears. It's okay to have insecurities. It's just about working through them and having some courage to talk to somebody about them and just grow and learn from them.
And what I've come to understand in talking with you about this over these couple of times over the last 6 or 7 months is that we're not talking about your garden variety. Oh, I feel a little funny walking into that room.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Right.
Yes. I mean, that's part of it, right? I mean, but it goes a lot deeper than that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what's interesting to me is we met, I remember IDS, Interior Design Society, was having an event at one of the showrooms, a meet and greet, and Nancy was there. Nancy Ganskalfer was there, and I went to the event to support Nancy and IDS. Yes. And we met at that event.
Yes.
I want to say, I think you came up to me.
Well, I think I happened to be standing talking to somebody, and I turned around, and there you were, right in front of me. And I was like, oh, my God, I know you. You don't know me, but I know you.
That's right. So it was like you just had an instant reaction. You couldn't even think about it. You didn't have a chance to say, oh, there's LuAnn over there. I want to say hello. I don't know if I should. It was like boom.
It was boom. You were right there in front of me.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And the thing is for me, we had a nice conversation, and then when it was time for me to leave with Nancy, I was going to meet Sandra Funk and Mark from Tastefully Inspired, right?
Yes.
And
Sarah Danielle.
And Sarah Daniele, and I was going back to the hotel to meet them. And I remember I looked at you. I'm like, what are you doing? You want to come with us? Right?
Yes. I was like, absolutely.
Right? And then we ended up we were at that hotel lobby till 1:00 in the morning from 5:30 at night, right?
Highlight of my career so far.
It was great. And we did it again the next night, remember? So the thing is, I have to say, and the reason I brought that up and shared that is because I'm not going to sit here and tell you, Leah, that in meeting you that first day, that first time, and then, having that nice time to spend with you over the next day and a half or so, that I thought you were the boldest, most confident person I've ever met. Like, that's nonsense, right? But
Right.
I never would have, I would not have thought the depth of what you want to talk about today. And so I just want to say to you, from understanding where you want to take this conversation today and understanding how real it is for you, that you're doing a very good job of being a whole person in the world and showing a great side of yourself and being a contributor in a conversation. You immediately impressed me. I wouldn't have invited you to come along with us for a day and a half and do every single thing we do. And I just want you to know that no matter, and we're going to learn a lot today, but no matter what is happening inside, you are giving a good impression on the outside.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Those words mean a lot to me. I do think I'm generally a happy and outgoing person. I think too much.
Yes, right? So
Like
tell us about that, because it's one thing for someone who doesn't experience this to say, well, then stop thinking about it, right? And it's another thing for what is real for you, and to your point, I'm sure others. Tell us about that. What is that experience like? How does it manifest itself with you, with your design business? How does it affect you?
Well, I'll be in an event like that, or be with people that are new acquaintances, new friends, or any event, any networking event, and I'll feel like it went well, but then I go home and I dissect all the conversations. I'm like, did I say something grammatically incorrect? Did I, all these things start going through my head, or did I offend that person by saying this, or did I offend that person? Or it's just a spiral. And then I go into, they must think I'm stupid, and they must think I'm, incompetent, or whatever it is that I'm having an issue with from that conversation that I felt like went badly. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, I can't ever reach out to them. They think they don't want to talk to me.
Okay. So do you think, are you able to say that and think about a situation, and then is there a part in your brain, Leah, that objectively is like, none of this is true? This was just a simple conversation. Nobody cares if I made a grammatical error. And maybe I didn't even, why am I worried about it? Or there's no little voice that has the objectivity. Is it all the voice that just wants to sabotage the situation for you?
In the past, yes, it was all sabotage. There was no coming out of it without talking to someone else, about it. But I feel like I've grown a lot in since we first talked about this at High Point in March. I feel like I've grown a lot, and I can talk myself down from that very quickly. And I don't even have those instances as much as I used to, because of all the growing I have done, and I'm being more self-aware, and they aren't thinking about these things. Truly, they aren't thinking about me in that way. I just had to learn that I was self-sabotaging.
I mean, from a very practical standpoint, which I know that a lot of this is not based on logic or practicality. So it's one thing to say it, it's another thing for it to be able to be real for you. But the reality is most people aren't thinking about everybody else once they've left. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, from just a very practical standpoint.
Yes, that's a big part of it, of being self-aware, is that when you're not self-aware, you really think the world's out to get you. Like when you have these issues, you think the world's out to get you. Basically what that means is the world revolves around you, right? Meaning you're just self-centered as well. So I had to learn that I was being self-centered. Little things like, this is one way I kind of, if someone's self-centered, like if you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off or they're not letting you get around them or something, and you have road rage, you're just doing that on purpose. No, they're not. They're just trying to get where they're trying to go too, right? So it's just things like that, of being so aware that the world is not out to get you, and it doesn't revolve around you. And they literally are thinking about their own issues. They're not thinking about you.
Right. Well, and that's what's, I guess, is a funny dichotomy. There's nothing funny about it, but that's what's probably the painful dichotomy of it. If you, like yourself, truly experience these feelings and these thoughts, is on one hand, you're so consumed with feeling inadequate and insecure. On the other hand, you actually are saying to yourself that everybody is thinking about what you're thinking, what you are.
Yeah.
And it's like an odd juxtaposition of I'm not good enough, but yet the whole world is only thinking about whether I'm good or bad. It's like sort of like we're not, though, right?
It is. It was a strange realization I had to come to.
Yeah. Hard.
Yeah,
because
hard,
the other is
hard.
so real, right? The other is so real and feels so heavy, it sounds like.
Yes.
And so what do you want to talk about first, Leah? Do you want to talk a little bit more about understanding and recognizing the types of patterns and behaviors that you used to do so that maybe someone listening could see themselves in it? Or do you want to talk right away about some of, like you just mentioned, even in the last 7 or 8 months, you've had tremendous growth on some of the mechanisms or conversations or tools that you've used in order to grow? How do you want to go here?
I guess we can start with the first one on recognizing the patterns and the things that I had to work on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so thinking about those patterns, so we're going to say, so it's for the conversation, a touch of everything we say, part of it is past for you. So that's happy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's good. So tell us some of it. So it's a difficulty in not only coming into a new design or networking event, but it's also the process of the post event and this hyper evaluation of yourself. Where does it start? Is there a way that you were raised? Is it an event that happened? Do you think it's just in your DNA? Have you had thoughts on where that germinates from?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had a lot of therapy.
Okay.
in the last, probably, I guess, my self-growth paths probably started 8-9 years ago.
Okay.
Been in therapy probably 6-7 years of that. And yes, for me, not everybody might be like this, but for me, I wanted to know where it stemmed from. Like, for me to understand and try to change those things, I needed to know where it stemmed from. So I did try to dig deep and remember things from my past. And I'm a people pleaser. I wanted to figure out what that was. I was a yes person. I also, hard for me to make decisions, like in my own marriage, hard for me to make decisions for fear that I was going to make the wrong decision and then, have to deal with the consequences. So I let other people do that for me.
So, but in going to the journey of beginning your therapy, were those things that you came to the therapist with and said, listen, I recognize that I'm a people pleaser. I recognize that I'm a yes person. I recognize that I get paralyzed making decisions for fear of the outcome. And I want to draw the line in the sand and I want to help with this. Or you started the journey with therapy of, I'm in a knot. I don't know what the knot is, but let's unravel it. So is it a hindsight, or did you have the moment of clarity that brought you there?
Yeah, no, I think that it started with the therapy first. I knew that I was having something going on inside, and I just needed to get it out. And so it did start with the therapy.
Okay. So, and I want to make that distinction because someone listening might be, I don't know what my problems are. I just feel lousy. like I'm just feeling crappy about a lot of stuff. And do I have to know what it is before I start? And the answer is no. The answer is if you're not feeling happy and not feeling satisfied and not feeling content and not feeling positive, right? It's okay to go. Okay. So you start the therapy, you work through it. And so what are some of the other types? So we're, like I said a moment ago, it's the going into the networking events, it's the spiraling after the events. How about client facing? Were you was it difficult with clients? How did it manifest with a client?
Man. Oh man, just even starting my own business, I had so many fears. I paid for a service for lead generation at first, the first year I was in it, and even it was still a warm call because they filled out a form, right? But oh my goodness, to make that phone call, I had so much fear. I remember one day, my husband, my fiance at the time, was trying to coach me on what to say, and I got so worked up. I ran into the bedroom, literally threw myself into bed and threw the covers over my head and was bawling and crying. And it's funny now, hindsight, he comes in, throws the covers off of me and goes, "That's it? You're just going to give up? Come on, get up." Oh, I hated him.
Wow. He sounds like a real angel, though.
Oh, you have no idea. Took me a minute to learn that, but yes, he is amazing.
So he saw it in you before you saw it in yourself.
Absolutely. He's the reason I have grown so much. I have to credit, that partially for him because he has been so patient with me. I owe him a lot. I'm so thankful for him.
So it sounds like that would be a helpful bit of advice, is to have a support person, somebody who really sees who you already are, even though you're not seeing it yet, so that you can see what you're going toward.
The hard part, though, in our situation was that I didn't see that he was trying to help me.
Oh, great point.
Yes. So
it didn't feel like help.
Oh, no. So another case where I was self-sabotaging. I had this amazing person in my life and I was pushing him away, but in every way. And he's like, "Nope, I'm just going to push back. Nope. That's not what I said. Here's what I said."
Wow, Leah, that's amazing. Because you know what? I hadn't considered that layer of it until you actually start to appreciate your own self. You didn't see that that's what he was doing, was helping you. Oh, my goodness. And you are lucky that he hung in there.
So lucky. So lucky. And what you just said there is another thing, appreciating. That was a huge, I don't know, maybe several years ago, a huge turning point for me, is learning that I was more of a negative person. And I had to start being grateful for the things I did have and not looking so much at the things I didn't have. So that's another part. It's a little off course, but at this moment, but something to talk about maybe in a little while.
No, I love it because it's a very, look, this is the error of being grateful. I'm going to tell you, I've been around for a lot of errors. Okay. I don't think there is a day that goes by that I don't come across some business writing or casual, reading or casual business reading, casual reading, a TV, whatever, where there isn't the advice to exercise gratitude every day. Now, I'm not mocking it. I think it's amazing. And I believe it and I practice it. But I just feel like that we're at a time and when I say a time, I'm not talking about a day, a week, a month. I don't know how long it is, but I'm just saying 20 years ago, I don't feel like this was so common to talk about, right? But it is very common now to take a moment. And even in coaching, in business coaching, there's so much of it that's like, just take stock of what you're good at. Start right there and be grateful for the things that you already come to the table knowing how to do, right? And so to think that that's an actual tactic that would help you if you're dealing with things at a much deeper level.
Yeah. I think it just in this day and age, though, where back in the day, I mean, we didn't have social media. We didn't have the internet to see what everybody was actually doing. And so you
actually pretending to do, Leah.
Exactly. Yes, that is so true. So true. But, when you're in this negative headspace, you don't think about that. You're like, oh my gosh, look that's so beautiful. I can't even, and you compare.
Yes.
So that's why I think in this day and age, being grateful for what you do have and what you can do and do well is so, so important. I think that's why it is so important these days.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And really the little bow on that is that this is a genuine mechanism, not some trite, slogan of the month, of the era. And that's the point of what we're trying to make about this, that it actually is something that helps you focus on your gifts and not the things that are haunting you.
It's about perspective. Right. You have to change your perspective.
Right. Okay, so now I just want to go back to, your well-made point that this is a warm call coming to you. This is someone who has said, hi, here's my telephone number, call me, right? And the truth is, not calling them is disrespectful.
Yeah, yes.
Right? I mean, they've literally.
I actually never thought about it that way.
Well, and okay, and so think about this, Leah. Think about the person out there that maybe experiences some of the insecurities and fears that you did, and they see something about your Instagram, your whatever the lead gen was, and they're like, well, I'm not sure if I should give my phone number because why would that designer ever want to work with me? And then they actually push send, but then you don't call them.
Right.
Think about the spiral the other way, the effect that you have the other way.
So true.
Right? And this is that whole get out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Get out of your own way.
Yes, right? So, okay, so that's very important right there.
Yes,
it's someone asked you to call. Respect is to call. But go back to that moment. So here you have it. You have somebody that's asked you to call, and you still, it was so terrifying. What's the adjective there? Was it terrifying? Was it, what was it?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Completely terrifying. I had never been in a job where I had to do any kind of calling or cold call at all. Mm-hmm. So, or warm call or anything. So it was so terrifying. I was afraid, what if I didn't know the answer to their question? I just can't even explain it. Terrifying.
And when he threw back the covers and he challenged you, did you make the call that day, or it took another day, or that one never happened and that lead went by the wayside and you needed more growth? What happened?
I did it. I did. After he left for work, but I did it.
And did it go well?
From what I remember, I don't think the person answered or ever called back.
Okay, but you left a message.
But I did, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, look, I talk about sales a lot on the show, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I talk about sales, I always talk about exactly that, flipping it around. Number one, we start with somebody took the time to share their information with you. Full respect is to make the call back. But then when you're ready to make that call and you are afraid, it's, you're calling to help this person. This person has a problem. They have a design dilemma and they want expertise and help. And I understand everything that's going on in your brain. I'm hearing it. But but what's funny is, for me, I always talk about sales as you're not trying to sell them something. You're trying to solve a problem for them. And if you happen to be the person with that solution, you'll end up taking money for that. That's how that works. It's you're providing something for somebody. Don't think of it as I'm trying to sell you something. And so I always talk about it from just the level of salesmanship, but I never thought about it all the way down to this base level. Where you are not just saying, oh, I don't want to make the call because I'm afraid of my sales skills. I'm afraid of this. The fear is deeper. When you're through it a little bit now, right? As you said, you've had a lot of growth. You have 6 or 7 years of therapy in this last 7 or 8 months, like you said. You've even grown more. But is that a valid thing for someone that maybe is at the beginning of this journey to maybe hang on to and say, look, get out of your head and think about the person who has a design problem that wants a professional to solve it? Is it enough to ask someone who experiences what you've experienced to just switch it in their head to, it's my duty now as a citizen of the world to help this person? Or is that just like, LuAnn, that is just too trite and that's just not going to work, sweetie?
I think that's a great point. And I think it probably would have helped me in the moments. I don't think that it would completely take away that fear.
No, right. But a starting block? Is it
yes,
a step in the direction?
Absolutely a stepping stone.
Okay.
For sure.
Because if you make the first step and the person would to answer and the conversation is positive, maybe you have that first little reinforcement of that worked.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so the thing is, Leah, since you've been willing to talk about this over the last several months, since you've had this idea and you've been, kind of ruminating on it for the podcast, have you been having conversations in real life with designers that you've met at the different markets since then, or have you been keeping it inside?
Yes, I've been keeping it inside.
Okay. So this is the first unveiling.
Yeah. I've talked about it with a couple of my close designer friends. Mentioned it, but they actually don't know it's today. No one knows it's today but my husband and my very best friend.
Okay. And where I was going for more was to but to understand if you have friends that when you get together, you're like, I'm in this same boat. I feel this way too. Or you haven't met anybody yet that in the design industry that goes through this. In other words, I'm wondering, you said to me, I want to do this podcast because I want the conversation to be out there and I want other people to know that it's okay to talk about it and that maybe, someone could help me or I could help someone else. And I'm just wondering, have you met anybody in real life yet that you've been able to share this with and they said, oh my goodness, me too, it's the same for me, or not yet?
Not to the point where we have deep conversations about it. No, but I was at a little neighborhood gathering the other week and started talking to my neighbor, and we touched on this a little bit, again, not in depth, but she could definitely relate. And so that was nice. Someone who I think is like, oh, she's doing so well, and she has had the same fears and things in the past too, but not on a deep level. No, I think because there's still a fear of talking about it even for myself. And I think I've pushed myself to do this podcast to just, that's my one big step, right? Like that's my first big step of just doing it. I guess I went big.
You sure did, lady.
Go big. I've been staying home long enough, so I had to go big.
Oh my goodness. Well, the thing is, it occurs to me that it's probably actually as much as you are telling tens of thousands of designers at one time, as much as that seems a little like, oh my goodness, at the same time, it's me and you. And I would think that would be a hard conversation to have with, like, how do you get that real, that deep, that quick? Right? You almost have to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And then I think, at least I'm going by my interactions with you. I would never have, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and, like, you guys know Cheryl Clendon, right? Like bigger than life, bold, smart lady. Like, I'm not saying you hit me like a freight train. You know what I mean? Right. But I would not have thought that it was this level that you're describing, that, really not being able to make a phone call back to somebody, not really being comfortable at an event, a design event. It never would have occurred to me. And it's not like I spent a minute with you. I spent 18 to 24 hours with you, almost uninterrupted, right? And I'm a very good judge of people, and that's why I'm not lying to you and blowing anything out of proportion here and saying I did not think the other, but I can see how as much time as we spent together, you could have, do you think, I'll say this to you, at the one point during the second day, do you feel that you could have said to me, I just want to share with you that this last couple of days have been really, really hard for me as much as I've enjoyed it, because this is so not something I'm comfortable and feel secure doing? Or even after all that time, you wouldn't have said that to me?
No, not at the time.
Isn't that interesting? No. See, so that's the thing. And I feel like that we made an instant connection, right? Did you feel that?
Absolutely.
Right. I did. And I felt that we were instantly comfortable. And and so that's where I'm now stepping back and looking and saying, wow, how hard it must be to find someone to talk about with this stuff and to share and commiserate, because with the level of contact that we had and the level, I go, if I feel the vibe with you, I go right there. We're like, okay, we're connected. You're my person, right? Yeah. Do you get that from me?
Yes, I do. And it's not that I've never done that with anyone. I think for me, I put you on such a pedestal too, and you were so out there. You're a celebrity in our world, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, she doesn't. I would never talk to you at that point. I wouldn't know how to have, because it was just a different level than meeting, a designer who is in, maybe the same position as I am, or even been in the business a little bit longer or something.
Okay. And I want to just say to you, you should never feel that way. And I don't mean just me. I mean anybody. We're all just people.
Yes.
And you either know that you're talking with somebody's heart or you're not. And I know that we talk to each other's heart. Yes. I know we did, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
100% connected.
Right. And so then it doesn't matter who you think I am or who you think I'm not. You talk to my heart, and you could have said anything to me. Okay. But this is what's the part of it that's eye-opening for me, is to know that someone could feel that connection. And to me, when I feel that connection, I feel safety. I feel like I'm sharing safety. I feel like I'm providing safety. And I feel like if I need it, I have it from you. But what I'm realizing with your courage in asking me to do this show with you and sharing this information with me is that when you are truly experiencing real fears and insecurities and self-doubt, and to this level, that feeling that another person shares with you of safety is not enough to feel safe right away.
No, not always.
See, that's an interesting, eye-opening thing for me. And that shares with me how deep it goes for you.
Right. And it probably speaks a little bit to the experiences I had, right? I'm sure for some people they'll read into that a little bit. But
what do you say to somebody? So now go ahead. It's the same thing happens again with somebody else, Leah. You hear this conversation, maybe in your brain you think, oh, I'm getting that same kind of connection I had when I first met LuAnn. And do you say, okay, open up a little bit more now, do you think? Or you're still like, nah, I'm probably not gonna.
I think it just depends on the situation and how the conversation does go.
Right, I get that. You're not going to sit there in the middle of we're talking about your business and go, by the way, I really struggle with depression and insecurities.
Right?
Right. No. And it's hard to talk about this, right? Because we don't know where I guess really what I'm saying is that I feel so heartbroken that you could feel insecure in a situation like that, whether it's with me or somebody else that I know I know Sarah Daniele, Mark, I know Sandra Funk, I know all of them, Nancy, I know they all instantly liked you and had an amazing time with you.
Oh, thank you.
Did you know that then, or did you spiral after it?
I think I was such on a high. I don't remember having any major issue at that point. But I can't remember anything. I was on such a high. It was a highlight of my life. And so I was just taking everything good from it.
Okay. So you didn't leave the hotel that night and go back and be like, did I
No.
say, okay, good.
No, I think I walked outside and floated in the air. Just floated the entire night because I was so excited. Like, that's happened to me. I felt like Cinderella.
It was a fun time. It was a very special experience for all of us, and we had different designers popping in, like they were walking by the lobby and they were like, I know all those people. We're like, come on over.
Yeah, it just grew.
Yes, it was fun. It was fun. So what else? What else do you want to say? I mean, do you want to share any hindsights on what you think contributed to it from your standpoint, or do you? How about like in this last 6 years? Where do you want to go here?
I think it's just about digging deep, honestly. So I think my big thing has always been like, how do you get over it? How you get over how do you make yourself just push through and do this? Because that's, what you hear people say all the time. I think a big part, it was the gratitude. Changing my perspective was major. Being grateful for what I have, being grateful for what I'm good at.
Because before that, you focused on what you didn't have and what you're good at. We're not good at.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that was a big thing. And just, I'm a people pleaser. I want everyone to like me. When I think someone doesn't, especially if it's someone I actually know and have had interactions with, and something goes wrong, I stress over it. I need to fix it. So I try to fix it. And, that saying says some people live 90 years and some people live 1 year 90 times. Yeah. That can be me.
Wow.
And I've had to learn to just know that not everyone is going to like me. And that's just the reality of it. And that's okay. It doesn't define me.
Right.
And so that's what I had to learn, that what other people think of me doesn't define me. That was a huge thing. And that's a somewhat, not daily renewal, but maybe situation renewal of the mind, and resetting. When you have a weird interaction and you're like, okay, well, that's okay. That person is not meant to be in my life for some reason. And I have plenty of good people in my life,
Right.
And again, being grateful for what you do have, not that one person that for some reason isn't meant to be in your life. Mm-hmm. So I had to have that. It's about self-worth, right? Knowing your own self-worth. Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing. And, a couple of authors that have been influential for me have been Brene Brown and Mel Robbins. Those two have been really, really big. I love Jen Sincero and Tony Robbins, of course. Mm-hmm. But, Brene and Mel are probably my top twos. Brene taught me the difference between, guilt and shame and embarrassment and humiliation. And I just had to learn about those things. I didn't know, I was definitely, I am bad kind of person. That's shame. If you have shame, you think the things that you do make you a bad person, versus guilt where I did something bad. It doesn't define you. And so I had to learn the difference between those things and separate them.
Where do you think that got programmed into you?
Gosh, that's a deep question. And I think I do know that. I think it really comes from my religious upbringing, and bless my parents. They did the best they did the best they could, or what they knew. Right.
Right.
And just being in that church environment, and a couple of major things went down with our family and the church. And, we were kind of labeled the bad apples. We were bad people because we were leaving the church. And, I was probably 6 years old at the time, or maybe a little bit older, 7 or 8 or something like that. And it really affected me. I thought we were bad people.
Wow.
And so that's one big thing that I know has happened. And so everything else in my entire life up until the last few years is everything I did made me a bad person.
Whoa.
Right. Huge, right.
Is this something that you can talk to your parents about without it being charged? In other words, that you can, like you said, they did their best. It's not, I'm sure they loved
I don't blame them.
Right. Is it something you can talk with them about and they understand that you don't blame them, or you choose not to bring it there?
I think I've just kind of dealt with it on my own. I think I could talk about it and they wouldn't take it personal. I really, I'm not sure why. It
hasn't been part of your therapy process to do it, though. Not necessary. Okay.
No, because my mother's a sweet soul and she can get her feelings hurt easily. And I don't want her to think that she did something to affect me. You know what I mean? I don't want her to think about it. Like I don't want to put that on her, because it's not her, right. It's other people, and how I ended up taking that in, and so.
Well, it's the truth. Yeah. We are a product of some of the things our parents said, did, and believed, but we're not just a product of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then it's like the telephone line game when we were kids, and you would say to somebody, you line 10 kids up in a thing, and you would say a sentence, and at the end of the 10th kid, it doesn't even resemble the same sentence. So it's the same. You're a parent. You're raising a child. You're putting your values, your world on them, and sometimes they are skewed. Sometimes they aren't, and that's when it is great and mature for us to look back and say, hey, can I just look and say that they did their best? Yes, they did. Did they love me? Yeah. Okay. Can I give them a pass and forgive them? But it's also everybody else along the way. So your mom says one thing to you, another person says something to you, you filter it by what you think your mom meant, and then you twist it in your head and you go out, and now the third person hits you, right? Like it's sort of all like this big quagmire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another big realization I had to come to is, this is my past. These are the things that happened to me. Now I am an adult and I need to choose how I'm going to react to those things and not let them define me.
I love that.
I might have done bad things in my life, but that doesn't mean I'm a bad person,
right.
And that doesn't mean I have to continue to do those things, I should say. And so I think that was a big thing for me is I define who I am,
right.
Not everyone else, not anyone else. No one else can tell me who I am. You can tell me that to my face. That doesn't mean I have to own that.
Right.
And that doesn't validate me.
Right. Well, by the way, it's just an opinion.
Exactly.
Like who said anyone? By the way, your poor opinion of yourself is also just an opinion. Let's just say that. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have a poor opinion of your own self, it's sort of like, shut up. Like that's not real. You just made that up, and now you're living your life according to that poor opinion.
Repeating what somebody else has said.
Exactly. So like some skewed telephone game that your mom said, I love you more than life. And at the end of it, you said, unless you this, that, and the other thing. And you're just like, oh, I guess she doesn't love me. Like it's crazy pants what we do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think the key, Leah, is what you said, is there has to be a moment where you draw the line in the sand and you just say, what was, what will be, and ask yourself, what will be? How do I choose it to be forward? And if that part of that choice requires therapy, that's a good thing. That's like somebody right?
Everyone should be in therapy, period.
Exactly.
Everyone needs to go to therapy. Everyone. It is okay.
Exactly. It's, look, if someone needs help from an interior designer to do a floor plan, is that any more? Why? You know what I mean? If you need help to interior design your brain cells, what's the big deal? Go do it. Your life will be better for it, right? And everything that you touch around you, you'll be able to experience in a better, more joyful way.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So here's your advice. Your advice is to talk about it, right?
Yes.
Your advice
find
is to
someone to talk about it.
Find someone to talk about it. Your advice is to be in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Your advice is to not allow other people's opinions to define your own opinion of yourself.
Yes.
Right. Any other couple of little things in there that you are, like you said, in this last 7-8 months, you've had some strides. What are your ahas from the last couple of months? Yeah.
Okay. So, one of the things that comes to mind is Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within. He has this thing he calls the triple P. It's the pain pleasure principle. And, we associate more pain with taking action than not taking action. So we have to change what we link pain and pleasure to. So I think that's something big, and I'm working on it. It's hard because, it's scary to do something different. But if we don't, then nothing's going to change. So that's something big for me that I'm working on right now.
So take it apart a little bit. So what you're saying is that we're more often wired that an action that we think we should do or think or take, we process that as pain more. Like,
yes.
That's harder to do, it's more painful to do, so therefore we don't do it. And we think that we are creating more pleasure for ourselves by not doing it. But the paradox is that we haven't eliminated the thing that caught the pain in the first place.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because when I'm on other podcasts, a lot of the times one of the questions is, do you have a mantra that you live by? And so I've been asked that many times. And there's two that I live by. And one is Tony Robbins. And he has a mantra that's all I need is within me now. Mm-hmm. And I have heard that in my head for 20, 30 years since I first came across it on probably an 8-track of his that I used to listen to.
Right.
Actually, I'm not going to say, you know what? It wasn't 8 tracks. It was cassettes. I had you used to order it on the TV show and it came in these boxes with these like 12 cassette sets.
That's awesome.
Totally dating myself. But I mean, all I need is within me now. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's so good.
All
so
you
true.
need is within you now. You're capable of anything you need to do. Mm-hmm. You can do it. Yeah. And it's funny because the other one, I'll just say it's because, as I mentioned, there's two, is Ogmandino, I will persist until I succeed. So if I'm not done, if I haven't succeeded, then I'm not done. We got to get up, LuAnn, and do it again. We got to move today. We're still persisting through this, sweetie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If there's no success at the end of this no set dot at the end of this sentence, then keep going. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that would be the same as this. If you're not feeling whole, if you're not feeling secure, if you're not feeling confident, if you are experiencing fears and insecurities, then you need to persist. You need to persist in getting help and finding help and seeking help and being open to help. It sounds like with your husband, the relationship in the beginning was that you weren't open to his help.
Mm-mm. No.
That's a big key. You have to be ready to have help, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I had to let go of my pride. Mm-hmm. Like, pride's a big one.
Yes. Because why? You're just so sure you're so darn right about all the things that are wrong about you?
Maybe.
Like
that's a good question.
And by the way, that you think are wrong about you. I don't think there's anything wrong.
Yeah. Maybe. And I think for me personally, I've always wanted to be just that independent person, right? And so for him to tell me how to do it, well, actually, back that up a bit. Part of my upbringing was being in that strict religious home is you do what you're told, period. You don't have an opinion. You just got to do what you're told. And so I struggled with making decisions in my life, and that's affected our relationship too. And so I always wanted to be that independent person that could fend for myself and do what I got to do. And so when he's trying to tell me what I need to do, I'm like, nah, I can do my own thing. I got this, So I was a little bit too prideful to even see that I needed to hear him, So that's a whole other dynamic.
Right. Because there's a part where that religious trying to put you under the thumb, you were bucking it and saying, no, I get to decide. But then you were clinging to poor decisions, basically.
Yes. Right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's a lot.
Talk about like, really, universe? I'm trying to break free of this bad programming, but I like latch onto another bad program. You know what I mean? Like here you're exercising some willpower and some strength and some independence, but you're latching onto the wrong thing to be willful about.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's a kick you in the butt sort of thing, I have to say.
A long way to go.
Yeah.
A long way to come from.
What a sin. No, it's amazing, Leah. I have to say, we've had a couple of episodes where people have shared personal growth journeys, and Wendy Glaister's episode comes to mind. Did you hear that episode with Wendy?
I did. Go back and listen to that one.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And then also Alex Gourlay. She also shared a personal growth journey where she realized that she was coming from her whole life, her perspective, from not a growth mindset, not the world is full mindset, and she had to go back and break it down and figure it out. And the thing is, once you unlock it, everything just rolls and falls into place.
And it's almost like, whoa.
Yeah. Right? Like,
it's an avalanche, and you don't even know what to do with it either. So there's a little bit of that, because I can relate to that, to Alex's story. It's really so much information that's coming at you that you really do have to kind of just take it one day at a time, well, it's a huge, it's your years of programming that has to be deprogrammed. Absolutely.
It's like somebody telling you, you're looking at the color blue your entire life, and then all of a sudden somebody says, that's green. And you're like, no, it's not.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, it sounds like to me that it sort of feels almost that incredulous. Like, wait, I really am a worthwhile person. Everybody isn't thinking about me when I walk out the door, right? Like, it's almost that crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had to, think about this. I remember a conversation in particular with my husband, again, then fiance, it was 5, 6, 7 years ago, where we were talking about something that happened to me, and I was angry about it. I was so angry. And he said something like, well, you can only control how you react to this. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, they did this to me. What are you talking about? I had to learn that I was in control of myself, and I was in control of my actions, and I was in control of my reactions to people. Like, that's how deep it was. That's how just, I had so much to learn about being self-aware. And, I don't know if that has anything to do with anything.
No, it certainly does. And it's so funny because any one of my kids that listens to this episode, they'll be like, yep, that's what she always says. Like, I have literally said to them 50,000 times in their lifetime, listen to me. You cannot change another person. However, you are fully capable of changing your reaction to it. Yeah. You are in charge of how you process this. Yes. So stop, trying, whether it's my daughters in relationships with their boyfriends at the time or their girlfriends. And it was big in the high school and college years that I would really, particularly with the girls, have these conversations, but with the guys too, with the boys too. But with the girls, because, they come back and they process it and they cry and why did he this? And really the most hurtful ones were other girls. My one daughter particularly went through an extremely difficult middle school period. And truly bullied, and it was just heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. And she's in her 30s now, and she still will just like look at me sometimes and she'll be like, whoa, that brings me right back to middle school. Right. And it's like, it's just like a little, like it's a nick on the skin, and you're just like, whoa, and but she is so strong, and she has come through it, and it made her so much stronger. But it was those constant sort of conversations all through. And I'd be like, okay, and especially one of the ways that we learned the lesson, and we talked about the lesson so often with them, is when it was somebody that we objectively did feel loved them. So if it was a good friend and they felt really let down by that friend, it starts with, okay, let's go to what motive is here. Do we believe that this is your good girlfriend who does actually love you? Yes. Okay. Do we know that she's also 14 years old and not quite fully cooked yet, right? Yes. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then you can get to, okay, so do we really believe that knowingly she wants you to feel hurt and less than? No. Okay, so that doesn't mean that this didn't happen, right? But how do we process that? How do we look at it? And how do we react to it? And a lot of times the answer was, when, especially in that situation when it's somebody you love, is to just simply go to them and go, I need to talk to you. Do you know how badly you hurt my feelings? I'm not sure you do. And I'm going to tell you 99 times out of 100, they didn't.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And when it's somebody who loves you, they will usually look at you and go, whoa, I'm so sorry. And then boom, like we're not like down this rabbit hole for, weeks of why did my friend do this to me? Right.
Yeah. Right.
And so, so I love that, that you learned that, Leah, that you can change your reaction to anything and anyone, but we cannot change any other person.
Right. Yep.
We just can't.
We can't.
You can't. It's actually physically, physiologically, psychologically, metaphysically impossible.
And that's a good thing to realize, right? Because it takes pressure off yourself.
Sure.
And you don't have to worry about it anymore.
That's right.
So it's a less of a worry. So it's a good thing. It's a positive thing to learn. So yeah.
Exactly. And it's empowering to understand that you are. And so and the situation when it isn't somebody that we care about, maybe it is a new acquaintance, maybe it is a store clerk, maybe it is a coach at a school, maybe it is a business acquaintance, maybe it's a new client. It's just, you know what? I'm not going to choose to process it that way.
Yeah.
This person,
And what I try to tell myself in those situations is I have no idea what that person is going through.
Exactly.
No idea. They don't know what I'm going through, and I don't know what they're going through. So there's no way I can even judge them for what they just said to me.
Right.
So
100%. I always say you have to go out of your way to hurt my feelings, because I do. And I say it kind of flip, but I mean it in this sense is I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt so often. Like you can, if there's an interaction and it sort of looks like you just tried to offend me, that you just said something that was offensive. I'm going to first look and go, do you think they meant it that way, LuAnn? I'm not sure. Like, what other way could they have meant it? And then I'll be like, and by the way, if they did, do I care? No. Okay. And move on. And then, by the time, the third or fourth time, then it's like, oh, okay, you have poked the bear. You actually were trying. Okay, now let's deal with this. You know what I'm saying? It's but I'm always going to give you the benefit of the doubt, because I firmly believe that I'm in control of my reaction. And my reaction is like, does this matter so much? And maybe what if she was or he was? Yeah, not big in my day today. Move on. So but your point is to kind of step into that, right, Leah? And
yes,
it's absolutely. A favor to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And just giving the people the benefit of the doubt. I had to learn that too. I mean, that's another one. You hit on a big one for actually me and my husband. And I just, again, thought he was out to get me. I thought he wanted me to fail, So all these things he was trying to teach me, I would take the complete opposite of what he's trying. He's like, look, I need you to give me the benefit of the doubt. You know how many times he said that to me?
Whoa.
Think that I have the best intention.
Right. Because why else would I be here? He's probably thinking, Leah,
Yeah.
you're a gorgeous, beautiful, charming lady, but I could find another, I promise.
Exactly.
It's like, I picked you. See, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
When I have people in my life, it's like, you picked me. So I honor that. Right? He picked you.
Yep.
He picked you. He wants you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to learn all that. I was so much to learn.
So good. So good. Well, Leah, I have to say, tremendous courage. Thank you so much for sharing this. It is not something that we've talked about, and it's a little different for my show.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when you can help yourself be a person who has more, I want to say has more love for yourself, more love and respect for yourself first, right? Then you are going to run a better business. You're going to be a better business person.
Yes, you're not going to be so afraid to just move and take action, and know that there really isn't any failure out there. It's all learning experiences, and that's what I had to learn. And So that's where I am now, is just trying to take that action so that, yes, I can build a good business and a profitable one, and,
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I think it's completely unrealistic. Now, this is a much more practical statement. This is not tapping into the actual mental, deep things that we've been talking about. But just from a practical standpoint, it is 100% unrealistic to think that as an entrepreneur, there are not going to be business failures. It's unrealistic.
Yeah.
So, that's like when everything feels good in your brain, let alone when you have this legitimate, real, true challenge that someone like yourself has experienced. So the fact is that we are going to have quote unquote failures. But the truth is those are our lessons.
Yes.
I've talked about it on the show where we almost lost our business during the first time we hit a recession back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. Here I am, 100 years later, coaching, helping, advising. I'm not like, well, don't ever tell anybody that we almost lost our business. No, this is why I know these things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
This is how come I know them, because I've been there. I've been through it. That is your expertise. What's that thing I have on my website, on the WindowWorks website? An expert is someone who's made a mistake in every part of their field, has made every mistake in their field. That's expert status. I've gone through 9,000 lessons. You have gone through your lessons. All of us. That's our goal, is to go through them. The key is you cannot sit in them, and you cannot blame other people for them, and you cannot avoid the analyzation of them. Pick it apart. What could I have done different? Where did I make a wrong move? Where did I make a poor decision? How can I avoid that and come out of it a different way next time? Because that's the growth, right, Leah?
Absolutely. It's hard, but it's so rewarding at the end.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you for all of this.
Thank you so much.
So happy and proud of you. So happy and proud for you and of you. And I adore you. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to know a few of the things that stood out to me most in Leah's conversation today, in her own observations? Number one of them was how truly essential her husband was in this journey to her finding some clarity, right? What an amazing gift for her to have someone who loved her so much that it sounds like he would fight for her even when she wasn't necessarily fighting for herself. Leah described how it was so hard for her to see that he was actually helping her and that he was in her corner. So take note, if you too have someone who keeps showing up, keeps trying to break through, and it is a person who in every other rational way, they care for you, that they love you, see if you can take a step back and really listen to their message. Take the lesson from Leah and just pass go. Just collect your $200 and let their words in. Let them in. Don't push that loved one and their help away, okay? Another standout is how Leah has come to realize how being grateful is key in getting perspective. Focusing on what you do have was what is great in your life, whether that is seeing your child's face in the morning or a new client in the pipeline. No matter our situation, we all always have something to be grateful, even if it's the simplest thing. There's no question about it. And lastly, Leah ultimately learned that what other people think of her does not define her. This is huge. This applies to every aspect of our personal and professional lives. Those of you who took my Sales for Creatives course last summer, and those of you who have coached with me, I'm a big stickler for this. Who the heck died and left you in charge of everything and exactly what every single person thinks and means by everything they say to you? Right? This is where this stems from. Are you following me on that? For example, Leah described that most times it wasn't even that someone shared what they thought of her. She said she would leave a meeting or an event and say to herself afterwards, I should have done this, or I should have said that. They probably think this, or they probably think that. You see, it starts with the stories that we make up. the stories that we tell ourselves that other people are thinking. And honestly, how many times in your entire life has someone actually walked up and said what they thought of you in a negative way? I mean, really think about it. I'm not talking about cases, God forbid, like divorce and things like that. Let's stick to the examples that Leah used. Meetings, networking events. Has anyone ever looked at you and said something derogatory to you? To Leah's previous self, okay, she would attribute all kinds of statements, beliefs, and judgments that she decided that others thought about her after meeting with them. And now, at this moment in time, for Leah, the answer is her new belief. What other people say about me does not define me. All right? Now, for me, in my opinion, I want you to take it, and I want Leah to take it one step further and say to yourself, unless I'm directly told by someone what they think, I actually factually have no idea what they think. And I also know, even if I did, it does not define me. Okay? Makes sense? This goes for personal relationships, client relationships, and vendor relationships. Other than truly difficult situations, most people, when they leave you, are just gone. That's it. They're just gone. And if you want to hang on to something, understand that most of us want to see the best in others. So if we do review the conversation after it's done, we're more likely to remember the good parts, the laughs, the fun, the aha moments, the way I did after spending that night with Leah. I only could think of all of the ways that she impressed me. And this, I have to tell you, I really firmly believe in my heart, is the way most people process things when they're done. Okay? It's the crazy little switch in our brain that we've got to make sure that we don't flip the wrong way and convince ourselves of what other people are saying. Okay? All right. So now, if you like this show, after I thank Article.com for sponsoring the show, I'm going to give you a few other shows to listen to that might go along with this one if it would help you, okay? So to open your trade account with Article, go to welldesign.article.com. There you will find a team of professionals ready to help you with an order for 1 chair or 300 chairs. Easy sourcing, fast delivery, awesome customer service, all in one place. welldesign.article.com. All right, now, if you haven't heard episode number 386, Wendy Glaister shared with us her journey in leaving an abusive marriage, having to find the strength to leave, to raise her son, to running her business, and to now ultimately being in a wonderful marriage and now speaking at design events about her experiences and how she moved through it, creating a new life and a new business for herself. Very, very inspirational. She is one of the sweetest ladies you will ever meet in your entire life, I promise. Episode number 447 with Alex Gourlay. Alex told us how she learned that she did not have a growth mindset, which affected not just her business, but her personal relationships too. The best part, Alex shared that she was able to reframe that mindset, and now she does have a growth mindset. And she shares some of the ways that she achieved this, okay? And also some of the results that she's gotten from doing that hard work, right? This is hard work. This is harder work than actually, work. That's the truth, okay? And finally, I would recommend my friend and co-author in my next volume of the Power Talk Friday Experts book, Desi Cresswell. Desi was on episode number 475. She's an interior designer who has become a life and business coach. She is a valuable resource for you if you have some cobwebs that you need to clear out and push through, all right? Now, one other thing, please listen to me. If you are listening and you are struggling with serious thoughts of anxiety or depression, hopelessness or isolation, especially in the midst of this blasted COVID-19, please know there is no podcast that I can direct you to that will give you the help that you need. Please reach out. Have a friend help you. Find qualified help like Leah did. You deserve to be happy and fulfilled like Leah is. With true professional therapy, it is possible. Okay? Don't shortchange yourself. If you know it would be helpful for you, give yourself the gift of getting that help. Okay? All right. Thanks so much for listening today. Share a high five with someone who you think could use it. All right. And if you're inclined to tell someone that you talk with today something nice so that when they leave you, they have a positive thought in their head, I'd ask you to do it. All right. Big hugs to everybody. Big hugs to you. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be. All of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.